Welcome to the Bold Analysis. I think for the last 2 years that I've been analyzing politics, this is one of the most difficult one, even to put a comment. And for better part of the day, I decided to sit back and watch. I was shocked when our friend Oduor was arrested last night. And I analyzed the video and I said there were 6 strategies that were on table. So if you check that analysis, you'll realize that what was to be used as a strategy to counter the protest might have catalyzed it. Let me start by first sharing deep condolence to Kenyans who've lost their lives. Well, there are videos I know you can see. I'm not going to share any video of what happened today because of the graphics. They're not very effective. They're not very good for even the YouTube space because YouTube is now limiting a lot of videos. So that's why I'm not going to share any now. And we've seen scenes of live bullets. A journalist was also shot. A parliamentary journalist has also been shot. And dozens of Kenyans, if you go to Kenyatta, the emergency section, it is full. Flood of activities because different bodies are arriving there, people arriving there in very critical conditions. And also to the big disappointment is that the police could not, or now the security apparatus now, they could not even give the space for the humanitarian aid to get it to work. Most of them we've seen footages of them being hounded out of the makeshift structures that they had established to just medical camps that they had created, makeshift medical structures that created in town. And so everyone has to be driven to a public hospital. So ladies and gentlemen, that is a bit of it. But I want to explain, I want to make an observation on what exactly happened. There is something that the problem we are having in this country started on 9th August 2022. That is where the problem started. The problem started when, after grabbing power, we brought in a crop of leadership that got all entitlements because, according to them, we were coming from the worst regime. And I think Kenyans now agree that for the last 60 years, or not even 60, let's say in the last, since 1982 coup d'etat, we've never experienced such that we've experienced now. Parliament, people, the public breaking into parliament, eating there, stealing, taking the mess, bringing down structures after overpowering police. It has never been witnessed, and it's a wake-up call. It's a time for the leadership to sit back and instead of asking, why are Kenyans doing this? Why are Kenyans angry? Before you profile that Kenyans are wrong, you must sit back and ask yourself a question. What am I getting wrong? What, as a president, as an MP, as a senator, as an MCA, as a governor, you need to ask yourself a question. What am I getting wrong? Probably if you get 1,000 answers to that question, then all those answers together, you try to answer them, tick the boxes, we shall solve the puzzle. So what happened today? I'm shooting this video late, I think around 8:30. There's a gazette notice from the KDF, the Ministry of Defense, Aden Duale, saying that they're deploying military personnel in major cities as there is a security operation to be done. And I've seen lawyers flagging that and saying that's against the law because any move to deploy the KDF, or rather the military, had to be okayed or should be okayed by the parliament. So that is it. What happened? A difference between this protest and the national shutdown protest, the turnout was huge. The turnout was huge. Because I remember around midday, I think around 11 p.m., there was a team that was advancing towards town from Ngong Road. That's largely Kibera and other areas. There was a team that was advancing towards town from Thika Road. And there was another team that charged toward town from Waiyaki. And then there was another team from this other side of Jogoo. Now, all the entry roads, all the town feeder roads actually took, the Kenyans came off the road. And remember that was a reinforcement, because at 9 a.m., town was already full and people were already there. So the turnout became huge, and I think after that you realize that around 2 p.m. police had to retreat, because they tried engaging in town. You could see there's a gentleman who they were discussing, they were telling the police, we're also fighting for you, you also need just to leave us, let's not do something bad. And they could not do the arrests, because you realized the reason why the successful arrest of protesters did not work, because contrary to other protests, this one's, for you to arrest one person, people are resisting arrest. So for you to arrest one person, you realize that 10 police officers will have to converge around one protester to arrest one person. Now by the time you are arresting one, the rest of your colleagues will be overwhelmed by the crowd. So I saw a retreat. And probably this retreat was after rounds of shooting, and probably now the police realized, maybe these guys are not going to parliament. Then they retreated and now wanted to shield the parliament. That is where things went bad. And after the crowds that numbered them, one thing that still puzzled me, and that is what most of us must question, that's why I'm saying leadership must question. Immediately when the crowd, when the protesters, those are not protesters, those are Kenyans, when the members of the public were like 500 meters from the parliament building, we were watching these live proceedings, the police really struggled to repel. And you could see instances where people were shot. MPs, and then when the Azimio MPs came out and said, no, just let these people come, wacha sisi tuache parliament, wacha waingie. And the time they were coming to the parliament, the MPs had to be evacuated to some basement area, and they were locked up there where these fellows could not, where the protesters could not reach them. And by 3 p.m., the protesters were inside the Senate. They ransacked the cafeteria. They were eating, they went there, ate, managed to get to the Senate chambers, even took the mayor's and the sergeant at arm gowns, and very shocking scenes. And that is why someone was saying that was a power takeover. I wanted to imagine that there was a leader involved. I wanted to imagine if there was someone involved in it and someone was to take power. So many things would have changed. And as a country, what is happening today, I'll one day analyze. It is what would have happened on 31st of January 2018, when Raila Odinga saw himself in, when Raila Odinga mock swearing in was done in Uhuru Park. Try to get the crowd that was at Uhuru Park. And if Raila was to take that crowd to charge, remember these are people that are self-driven. If Raila was to charge that crowd by then to head to Statehouse, remember they were at Uhuru Park, so they were just to take the Statehouse road, things would have turned very chaotic. Now today, the people came out. No one is saying, come out. No one said, let's go and do it. But they were out. And even at sight of others killed, I saw someone saying, someone was just shot next to him. And he said, comrade, the blood is shed. We are moving. So we really need to think, and you'll understand that these narratives of Raila, I don't know, opposition, NGO, Putin, so and so, we really needed to tread very careful. Now, photos then came out, and the leaders were stuck, and the ministers that were, most cabinet secretaries' offices are at actually KCC, and some of the majority, some of the houses of house leadership are also in KCC. They had to be evacuated by a military chopper, by a chopper. The chopper went, in fact, on top of that building, then they were being evacuated there so that they can be taken home. Now, that is Nairobi. And in Nairobi, you can say, okay, the youths were charged. I've seen an angle, and I've seen some politicians dragging Russia in this, other than what happened. They're trying to drag the Russia in it. I want to explain. From that, there was the other things. Now, that rage happened in other areas. And you see photos, Kimani Kuria, that is the Senate, that is the National Assembly Majority Leader, the CDF House office and the vehicles were banned. Not Kimani, that is Kimani Wamatangi, not Wamatangi. The majority leader is called Kimani Chungwa. Then Kimani Kuria, who is the chairman of the Finance and Budget Committee, house in Molo, was also banned. The reason why I'm profiling you, because I want you to pay attention who. The other one is KJ's office in Kawangware was also set on fire. And that office is next to a police station. There is a police station just next to that office. So that should be a very big pointer. KRA county offices and county government offices in Embu were also attacked. A supermarket belonging to a prominent politician, Mount Kenya, in Nyeri, I'm told Kenyan member of parliament, was also ransacked. And you will see videos of people carrying valuables from that supermarket and that building. It's been coming out. Now, those are some of the MPs that voted no. One identical thing with those incidences is now, those are outside Nairobi, and there are more. The business premises of Oscar Sudi, that XO, is it XO? Can't remember the name, but there is a bar that Oscar Sudi opened somewhere, I think in Eldoret. It was also ransacked. And there's also another one that belonged to another politician there. Bungoma, Kisumu also this evening, there was, but I think there was a catch-up. There was also another supermarket, I think probably being raided, and police have successfully tried to repulse. Now, even at the height of this, do you realize that outside Nairobi, where there is a bit of that neutrality, but the other counties that have, the other MPs that have also been targeted, that have also perished on today's protest are also from Mount Kenya. Someone said that there is something we got wrong, and probably we just needed to be a little bit smarter kidogo. It was very wrong that this thing was happening at a time when the deputy is clashing with, the president is clashing with his deputy. It was not a very good place. It was not a very good place of that to happen. So leaders were profiled. There were protests in Mombasa, the protest in Kilifi. And then the question that then this begs here is, while you want to drag angles, and that many people are here, we are here because of, you need to, you need to give it a bigger outlook. The protest started as a finance bill protest, but it degenerated into something else, because the finance bill was just a trigger. But I think there have been the public, deep-sitting public anger on the governance. And that is why I'm saying we need to interrogate ourselves. If the finance bill, and remember in Parliament they rushed and passed the bill within 2 hours, and I said, so by around midday, already the MPs had passed it. Probably they had preempted that, they preempted that what would happen, something that would maybe would rather happen. So they passed it very fast, and then it reached a point now, protesters, after realizing it's been passed, what is it? Deep anger. The events of Tuesday, 25th, will go into history, because it's not exclusively looking like a finance bill protest. It's looking clearly of a rage that is going out, the rage that is publicly being felt on this. Public is feeling the rage on what exactly the government is doing. And all those things that people have been talking about, their culmination could be probably what we are saying. So I think we must put our acts together, because somehow, as a leadership, we are the biggest failure in this context. So I want to see Ruto must interrogate, must ask himself the questions that really matter. Don't ask yourself the simple questions. You must ask yourself the questions that really matter. Remember, the police were even overwhelmed. Even they started shooting themselves. There was a sniper who was shooting people and he shot a police. I don't know who was targeting, and the police was shot. And another policeman said he wants to resign because his brother had also been shot in the protests. And before I look at why Ruto must interrogate himself, the conduct, I wonder, the security apparatus found themselves in very unfamiliar terrain. They never envisioned, and I think even the security bosses, this was the current crop of the bosses we have, they've never imagined of that. So even the orders to do, they could not easily execute. They didn't know what exactly is to be done. And we must be very sensitive, because things are not looking good. Now, there are 4 things that should worry President Ruto, even as he gives his speech and thinks about what next. The water zones in central and the urban areas are worst hit. We've been saying the most worst hit person in Kenya Kwanza here, affected by Kenya Kwanza policies, are actually the urban youth. The question of change of term and change of guard is here. If the fellows will come out and vote for the president, vote in the next general election, then I can tell you we are going to have very, very new faces in that parliament. Faces, you're going to have faces who you are not going to do these things, and they are going to maybe tolerate. So that must be a question. And there is one thing that even the intelligence must interrogate, and they will find out that the person that is most annoyed by Kenya Kwanza is the person who voted for it. The most annoyed are the people that voted for Kenya Kwanza, not even the opposition fellows. Number 2, the abductions, yesterday I said it was a big gamble. The abductions was a combative approach, and the speech by Kindiki yesterday was saying, he had said the protesters have the right, and those who are against the protest, or those who are protesting against the other protesters, should also have the right. And that failed, because we've seen vandalism, and now maybe, it was generally very peaceful, and the moment the police took the combative edge, things went out of hand. So the abductions are a big gamble, and I think it charged the emotions. Even the shootings charged the emotion. And I was just saying, I think it just slipped my mind. Even the mere fact of police shooting, some of those incidences were also charging the crowd while trying to repel. But of course they did something, because I wanted to imagine if those protesters who stormed to parliament when parliamentarians are seated there, it would have been a different story. But an act of even shooting was also charging, because if you shoot, say, people say, you won't say if you shoot all of us, you cannot shoot 20, you cannot shoot 70. I've seen them, one person being shot 6 times. I don't know whether now, to what extent. Now, the legitimacy of Kenya Kwanza is worst hit, and it's one coming out that one of the most unpopular one. The IMF and World Bank push, we must have a climb down. And I think President should not assent to that bill. Should not. Should just give it a break. And let's look at the way forward. We need to bring some ceasefire. Otherwise, we have a country to protect, so we must put our acts together. Kindly, if you're in town, leave town and go home. You so need your life. The military has been deployed. We are waiting for what the president is going to say. He's going to make a speech. President Odinga has made a speech and have called out on killing protesters, and we've seen Kenyans coming out in that. And let's wait and see, guys. But let's also pray for this country. I've been receiving a couple of calls. Yeah, people that have been stuck in need of medical attention. So we've been trying to make some referrals here and there. But we are hoping that you keep safe. And if you are injured, you're in the house, don't be somewhere and you don't get support. If you know someone, you can link me. If we cannot help even as us, we will try to get some few people. I will try to also link them hata kwa hizo hospitali watu waende watibiwe, kwa sababu I've realized there are a lot of casualties and some are just home injured. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So thank you, guys. So I'm already in Kiambu, Karabaine. As I promised you, I was going to visit Mom Evans. Mama Evans at the just award, just farm, and for the order of farms, then also gave our contribution to this. We said we wanted to stand in solidarity with the Mama on behalf of the bold charity team that I represent, on behalf of my own family, my mom. It's also a mother like you. I remember let's share. God give you strength. It's not very easy to do fast. Some of us are still young, but this is something very big. So just say what?
Nimepokea nisaidia kuzika the best Evans. Ni asante sana na watu wenu mnatuangalia na asante sana kwa team.
Asante. So guys, Mama has told us kwamba Evans atazipo on Friday. Yeah, Evans atazipo on Friday. So there are still other plans. Postmortem finally haikufanyika. Tukiingia ulikuwa ifanyika. Yeah, itafanyika on Monday. Because for postmortem was 5K. It's 5K. Alafu na other post. So Evans will be buried here kwa hii boma on Friday. God willing, if we can also get time, and as a witness, so that and thank you very much, guys. This was a one-day notice. I'm finally here, and this is what I say: there is solution beyond journalism, and thank you for coming through to be part of this solution, because we cannot sit and complain and just report without being part of the solution. Asante sana.